Hello, everyone,
Oh,
and
well,
welcome to the 13th episode of Hidden Layers Diversity in Design. Today, I have a blessing, a great illustrator. I love her work. She's so bright. But please, Kush, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Kush. I'm a freelance illustrator. I've been, I guess, freelancing full time for about 5 to 6 years now. But yeah, all my work is inspired by like my British Asian heritage. So
Mhm.
yeah, bright colors. Like a lot of it is just to do with my background, my heritage, and yeah, quite deeply personal, I suppose.
Yeah, it's truly amazing work. So please, guys, if you don't know Kush, please go on our Instagram. You'll be surprised. She's super good with illustration. I wanted to ask you something. Obviously, I'm a big fan, so I'm not gonna be a crazy fanboy. But I wanted to know, like, when do you start doing your art? Was it something that you always had, or you discover it later in life?
I was really lucky actually because my I come from a really creative family. So my parents are both really into art. Like my mom sews, she like paints, she does everything you can think of. My dad, he draws and paints. So they were really encouraging when I was growing up. Yeah, it was really cool. They would sit and draw with me a lot. They would sit and encourage me and help me to actually, you know, not perfect my artwork, but they just
Mm-hmm.
really help like encourage me and help me experiment. So I was really
Okay.
lucky in that sense because you don't really get that with South Asian parents a lot, or South
Yeah, I know.
Asian.
I was thinking. Yeah. And can I ask you actually, did it actually help you? Because obviously, having parents that do something like this allowed you to actually experience art and kind of play around with different styles, textures, composition. Was that something that actually helped you discover your style earlier in life? Or,
I guess so. Like I guess because your parents are showing you one way of doing it, you're kind of influenced by that. So when I was
yeah.
younger, I was really into like fantasy art and because my parents love like fantasy fairy tale. They grew up obviously in the 70s and 80s. So it was very like psychedelic. And they love like they're really into like their rock music. So you think about the old rock posters and they're really like intricate and like, a bit Lord of the Ringsy fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was a massive influence on my work. So that was kind of me all the way up to, my teens. And it was only until I think I moved out into London after uni did I
Mm-hmm.
start to look into illustration more. And
Okay.
actually, like my meeting my partner was a massive influence on like the illustration side of my work because he was in uni in London. He's from an illustration background, and he took me to
Mm-hmm.
like loads of we both used to go to all these exhibitions together, like playing not
Mm-hmm.
playing outside, sorry. I think it was in Somerset House. I can't remember what it was called. But it used to be really cool. It was like showcasing all these illustrators and I was like, this is sick. Like this is like I was just really inspired because it was a kind of different side of art that I guess I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
see in my little bubble. Um
Okay.
so I think just getting so many more influences, obviously living in London, all, like just everything you're kind of getting inspired with day to day has just helped kind of push my artwork. Like
Yeah.
I guess like I studied fashion, so that's a big part of like
Okay.
what I what I draw as well. Like I'm always looking at the
It's
clothes.
funny because I can now that you're telling me this, I can see a lot of it's weird. I would say like maybe I wasn't expecting the fantasy side of things. You know
Yeah,
why?
yeah,
Because fantasy is kind of dark, metal, rocky, and you are very vibrant. So that's the only thing I don't see. But
yeah,
I have to admit, whenever I see pieces of your clothing or the detailing when it comes to accessory like necklace, ornaments, hair ornaments, and stuff like that, you have a lot of details. So you pay a lot of attention. And now that you said fashion, it makes sense because you're very detailed in that.
yeah, yeah.
Is
It's 100%. I think you can see the threads,
mm-hmm.
closely where they've kind of come from, which is quite nice. It's like a map of all your influences and your growth, throughout your life.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm somebody that always think never limit your imagination with illustration, because when it comes to illustration, I think illustration is almost everything in design for me, because when you're an illustrator, uh, you have concept of composition, color. You can be a brand designer, you can be a web designer, just because you have clear understanding of balance, a negative space. light and dark contrast. So it's very interesting to see how you bring everything on one plate and it just work beautifully together. Yeah. And I wanted to know, like, did you also study when you said you study fashion or fashion illustration?
It was fashion design and
Okay.
illustration. So I fully thought I was going to be a fashion designer when I was a teen
Okay.
and like, you know, very early 20s. So I did fashion, I studied fashion up in Yorkshire where I'm from, moved
Hmm.
to the UK, moved to London,
Yeah.
and I did loads of internships like with London Fashion Week, with fashion houses,
Okay.
things like that. But they kind of sucked the soul out of me a little bit. I remember doing them for a couple of years, and because obviously you're unpaid, you're working long hours, and you're just doing these menial jobs. I didn't feel like I was, I didn't get what I wanted out of them as much. Like I look back and think they were cool, they were fun. Obviously, you're behind the scenes at London Fashion,
Yeah.
so I got
Mhm.
to illustrate all these fantastic costumes and they were very like they were covered in crystals. They were for like dance, they were for movies, they were for all sorts of things. But yeah, as I was doing that, I was like, actually, this isn't what I want to do. I actually
Mhm.
enjoy drawing the outfits more than I enjoy, deciding how they're made and things. Like I actually don't care about that bit. I just want to
Oh.
draw the,
Actually, that was my next question. I wanted to ask you, like, is that dream gone, or is it something like I think, like when, especially when I look at your pattern work, or when you like fill up the gaps and everything with all that little details, I can see like a capsule collection in like doesn't I don't know which format, but even like raincoats or like bandanas
Mm,
or like bags. Is that something that you have already worked or you have experience in, or you work
yeah,
for
I
any
mean,
clients that?
I kind of so I try and put my illustrations on things when I think they make sense. So, for example, I did like
Mm.
some silk scarves years and years ago, and I do like, when I fancy it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do some t-shirt designs, or I'll do like a
Mhm.
bag design or something. But I'm more interested in like illustrating, not making something that can be real. Because I always
Mhm.
found the restrictions of like what you can design, you can't sometimes translate it into a real wearable garment. And I was like, no, I just want to
Mhm.
focus on something a bit fantastical. And
Mhm.
that's why I used to like working in like couture because that's always, really over the top and stuff. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think there's elements of it, like, I still love fashion, like, and I love style, and that's something that's very personal to me, and it's very strong in my work, like you said, but, I think it's less like I want to design stuff to make, it's more like I just like to design it and let it exist in that space alone, I guess.
And quick one, obviously, because obviously this is a platform of like we have a lot of black artists and people from minority communities. I wanted to touch a point like as a South Asian, do you feel like it was difficult navigating within the design industry or becoming the artist that you are today? Do you encounter some struggle or like?
Yeah, because I actually think it was only until I embraced my South Asian culture and identity did I really
Hmm.
everything kind of really start falling into place. But I
Okay.
there are always struggles, especially when you're from like a global minority. There's always
Hmm.
issues, and you're always having to fight for that space a little bit. And
Yeah.
I think like we were chatting a little bit earlier about, but even when I get these really incredible projects, I always want to say like people come to me for Diwali or Vaisakhi, which is great.
Yeah.
We want to champion those holidays and those
For
festivals,
sure.
but
Hmm.
it's like I'm also available to do anything, any other project, throughout the year. I
Hmm.
think basically being like remembering you have South Asian artists or black artists or, when I guess the time calls for it is not
Yeah.
it's not representative and it's not you're not then championing these artists because they can do everything, they can do anything and you're still pigeonholing them into one thing,
Yeah.
when it kind of suits you, when it makes sense to be like, yeah, we will champion. Obviously, though, and on the same hand, though, it's great that you are celebrating these if you're doing it the right way, and it's obviously great
Hmm.
that you're lifting up artists from those backgrounds. But I
Hmm.
think it's just being like aware that it can be done all year round, like you
Yeah.
know.
I think like I agree with you. Like I think it's great that they offering you work like for cultural things like that. But at the same time, if that is all that you end up doing, don't get me wrong, it gives you pleasure, but it can also box you a bit
Mm,
in, you know? And especially if you work with a lot of clients, then you don't have enough time to actually create something different. So it's almost like the people will know you only for that and they will never see anything.
yeah,
Rather, I can imagine that if I now come with you and say, like, let's do something crazy, we will actually go in a fantastic place that maybe nobody will have ever expected as well. And I think, yeah, as a illustrator, I think I agree because I think like I see it more now than before because I feel like I mentioned that to you shortly earlier. Like I've always focused on my work to talk for me and not always put my face on the work so that people didn't know which ethnicity I was or whatever. But it's funny how it brought me more job in the past, and
mm,
now that I have my face, there's always more opportunity. Can you do this for this event? Can you do this? And it's almost like there was a shift within this period of design because back in the days, designers used to be more minimal. They didn't really care about you need to meet me. Actually, they would prefer to be underdogs rather than celebrated art celebrities, if it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's actually it's a very interesting topic, but I think is also a trend, and I think now there's a lot of people focusing on that. Obviously, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ. So there's a lot of movement. So they feel like if they take somebody that is in that bracket, is always a win for them. Like I mean, it is, but
You have to still
at
do
the
more. You
same,
can't just
yeah,
say, I'll pick
yeah.
a black artist and that's me done." Like
Thank you,
I think that's
thank you,
thing. Like, I feel like you don't want to just be a tick box. And he's like, that's
thank
my
you very
main.
much.
I feel like a checkbox.
Yeah,
That's like, no, I don't want to
hmm
work on this project. I need to know that you've done your research, that like
yeah.
what it is that you want and why also are you doing it? Like what are
But you
your
see what
reasons?
you say, you need to do your research. And I think that is very interesting because a lot of people they just do something cool, but they don't really think about that. And it's painful because especially for something so sensitive or something so personal for a certain culture, it needs to be a little bit more than just like a cool design,
Mm,
It's yeah, I totally agree. Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you, like, obviously we met in playing
hang on.
outside, you had
Yeah.
a market. Is the markets a space that you always done it? You had a lot of merch, I saw. So I'm expecting that you it's not your first rodeo in the market scene.
Yeah, I've been doing markets for maybe like 3 or 4 years now. But
Okay, nice.
I you know what they are. The first one I did, I had no idea what I was doing, but I kind of
hmm
spoke to people that I know like on Instagram or like friends that are creatives that have done them. And I got a lot of like info and help with that, which was great. But it was a way for me to connect with my like people that like my work, people that resonate with my work on a way that I'd never been able to do before. Obviously
hmm
like messages on social media and things, but I think having people come up and see what they're drawn to, or just start having a chat with me. And I think like I just get such lovely people, and like I get such like I always sometimes like feel like crying sometimes because like people will just be like, your work's inspired me to do X, Y, and Z, or
hmm
actually your work reminds me of this, or I've bought this and I've given it as a gift. You know what I mean? Or sometimes when I have people and they're like, oh, I've seen your artwork in my friend's flat, or and I'm always just shocked that people want to buy my want to have my work in their house for one, but it's just really nice for me to connect and chat to people. It's always great for me to network with other creatives. I love doing markets because at the end of the day,
hmm
I'm here in my studio working by myself.
Every
It's me and
day
my cat,
makes
like,
sense. No, no,
most
no,
of
no. You're
the time.
totally right.
So it's
Uh,
nice for me to socialize and to chat to people and yeah, I loved playing outside. It was great. Like it was so busy. It was so well curated. But yeah, I do love a good
and
market.
And I think like it's the best way actually to show yourself to the people for who you really are, because at the end of the day, even if you have an agency, your name is there and you have the work, it's always great to actually, I think each artist, at least most of the people that I know, illustrator especially, we all kind of live in our bubble, especially when you do freelance work. And we just see the world differently. And I think that's what a lot of people see when they meet us. They might have different expectation, but then when you talk to people, they are so down to earth and so kind that sometimes you feel like, wow, I will have never said that the person is like this. So they make you feel so like,
I always used to get
but
worried when people met
yeah,
me that they would be really disappointed because I was like, my artwork feels cooler than I am. So I was like, when people actually meet me, is it going to be disappointing? And then I had to quickly have a good word with myself to be like, we're not going to think.
wow.
But
Why is that?
I have no idea. I think it's just, you know what it was? I think because I used to get so many messages of people being like, I love your art, it's so cool. And then I think I just got in my,
Hmm.
it was a little bit of imposter syndrome, I guess. But when I used to do marketing,
Yeah.
like, gosh, are people meeting me being like, oh my God, it's her behind the artwork? It's not, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, but that's something like completely separate. I think just having to get over those little voices in your head
Hmm.
being like, it's not
No,
good
no.
enough.
I feel like it's funny because I had something similar. I will not say imposter syndrome, but talking to people is not. I can talk like I'm a talk box. Actually, I can talk to anyone when it's in a social environment. Like if we meet on the street, if we just met in a club or a pub or whatever, I can talk to anyone. But then when you put me on a microphone on a stage or something, I've never liked the hierarchy of speaking up to
Hmm.
people. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't like because I always put people on the same level. Doesn't matter what you do, and what you do or how much money you have. It doesn't matter to me. So we are always on the same level. So I always had this. It's not a phobia, but it's more like I don't like to feel superior or celebrated more than others because we should all be celebrated. So that's why when I see people always saying like. I don't know if they like me or not like me. The reality is like your honest self is the best thing someone can get, and you don't have to always, I think we grow up in a society where everything had to be in a certain way. And I feel that affect us, it giving us trauma without us knowing that it's trauma because we always think we have to be in a certain way or look a certain distinctive way to be liked by certain people. Rather, when you are honest, you know what is the thing that attracts people of honesty? That there's trust, there's an energy, there's something so pure that nobody can give you something better than honesty, because when it's honest, that means there's no maliciousness or nobody want to bring you down from something. That's why coming to my next question, do you surround yourself? I've heard you work like me, freelance. You like doing market, but do you try to surround yourself by? I mean, your partner is a creative, so that is the perfect thing. But do you also have a community for yourself that you link up with? You talk about project. If you have any doubt, you can count on them to just chat about everything.
I think the community aspect of this is like the best thing that's kind of come out of this, like my creative journey, my freelance journey,
Hmm.
because it's something for a start, I just never expected to be a thing. When I started this, it wasn't even on my radar. And like when I started this, to be fair, I was just showing my artwork on social media. Like you don't know what can come from it. But yeah,
Hmm.
I think this like amazing like community of like creatives has been the like one of the best things to come from it. Like I have so many people now that I'm really privileged to be able to call like friends, that I've met through doing projects or I've met through, sometimes it's like I've met through a market and then we've, kept in
Hmm.
touch, or I've been an admirer of the work and then we've, decided to work together, or we've just decided to, we'll just be there for each other because, as a freelancer at the end of the day, you're kind of quite isolated, you're quite alone. So you kind of have to reach
Yeah.
out to your community or to reach out to other artists and be like, hey, actually, could I get could I get your advice on this? Or could I get like a little bit of information on this? And I was doing
Mhm.
that in my early days, and now I'm so privileged that I have people now asking me for, like, feedback, and it's like, I'm, more than happy to, and, like, every time I meet people, I'm like, "Just drop me a message if you have any questions, or if you wanna ask me anything about,
Mhm.
art or freelancing or whatever it is, or if you just wanna chat," I'm like, "By all means, please," because I know how important it is, to have people around you that you can, really speak to, like, openly and honestly. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like so grateful for everyone that I know.
I was always the most quiet person in the room.
Mm,
Not because I'm quiet, but I feel like a lot of time when I started joining big events and stuff like that, I was the only kind of guy of color. Like I didn't had a lot of people looking like me, and that always not let me feel uncomfortable, but it made it difficult to me for me to really go and mingle with everyone. So I
mm,
always try to find people that look like me. You go and chat, hey, what do you do? Oh man, it's almost it makes you proud. So because I see somebody like me, he understand the pressure I feel in a place like that. But then the more I went to events, I started speaking to people. I spoke for Adobe. A lot of experience really made me more confident about myself in terms of like they almost showed me that I had a voice that matters. And when I found that, then everything changed for me. And it's funny because we work always at home. So I feel like sometimes we doubt our potential
yeah.
in terms of who we are, what can we achieve. And it's funny, we should think big because we saw the world in such a big, how do you call it? We see the world with such a big creative eye, but
Mm.
then when it comes to ourselves, it's almost like we make us so small.
We shrink ourselves,
Um,
because like you said,
you understand what I mean?
yeah, you I think
Yeah,
be in our creative bubbles so much, and then you kind of forget about the outside world sometimes. I think I'm always like,
exactly.
"Oh, I've been inside, or I've been here for a bit too long now. I think I need to go out into the world and,
Hmm.
like, speak to people." And then, yeah, it really does make a massive, massive difference. I don't think you can have one without the other, really.
Yeah, and listen, when it comes to like work, obviously we talked before. You told me like lately you don't have enough time for your individual work, but you're working on a lot of commercial projects with your clients. I guess a lot of time you experience burnout, or do you try
Yeah.
to balance your life?
It's been I think every year that I've done this now, I'm obviously trying to learn from each year or each, kind of phase I'm going through. So yeah, freelancing is such a roller coaster that you kind of never really know what your next month is going to be. But I feel like now
Hmm.
I've kind of got a bit of a system in place where I can navigate it a little bit easier. Like if I am a bit
Okay.
quiet on commissions or on client work or projects, then yes, then I'm like, right, now is the time to focus on my work.
Hmm.
And then when things get busier, then it's like, okay, I have to kind of shift my focus, and I have to keep kind of doing that throughout the year. But yeah, I'm definitely someone that says yes to to a lot, and then I'm basically working, working, working. Like
Yeah.
I don't really I have to really talk to myself and be like, we need to find a bit of a balance, because sometimes I'll work
Yeah.
through the day, and I will make dinner, and then I'm back to working all through the evening. And then I
Hmm.
realize, like, then it's really messing up my sleep, because I'm like going to sleep at
Yeah.
2 in the morning, waking up and then doing the same thing again. It's like actually
Hmm.
taking that time out for myself. So just like little things, like I decided to start collaging a little bit more. So it was like I'm not on the
Hmm.
screen, I'm doing something
Exactly.
physical. And so it doesn't feel like you're using the same muscles, or the same kind of
Yeah.
thought process. It's like you're having to look at it
Hmm.
in a different way. So I started doing that a bit more, and then bringing out more like paints, or bringing out more like, crayons or things.
Okay.
It's like, okay, if during work I am working on the iPad or I'm working on the Mac, then let's try and do, even if it's like, half an hour of just a bit of
Hmm.
like experimenting or messing about, just to kind of help reset. Or and I think that that's been like a really nice shift for me because before, yeah, I was getting really burnt out. I was just getting like my mental health was not great. I was, getting
Mhm.
really like stressed out. The anxiety was there
Mhm.
because you're also putting pressure on yourself when you're working for yourself. You're like, you have to get this
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
If you don't do this, you're not going to get paid, and then you can't, afford your
Yeah.
bills, or you can't live. It's a kind of knock on effect. But I was like, okay, instead of looking at it in a big picture, let's just take it
Yeah.
in bite-sized pieces.
Listen, you're just telling me the story of my life. Even like it's funny because I found back last year, I found like a few months that I went back in a routine. I started
Mm.
sleeping early. I started
Mm.
to sleep at. But I've always been somebody that in my life, I think since I'm like 20, I sleep like 4 5 hours every day. But then when you start working, you know what is funny? I'm in that mentality that sometimes when you have freelance, you work a lot, at least. Either it's too much work at the same time or it's
Yeah,
very
it
quiet,
all
yeah?
comes in one go,
And it and
100%.
it's never is weird because I believe in destiny and everything, but that destiny just make me laugh sometimes. Either everything or nothing. And obviously, you saying yes to every single thing because obviously you want to ensure I'm freelance, I have to manage everything, I need to pay my bills, money has to come in somehow. And it's funny because sometimes I try to say, you know what, I will try to say no on projects that don't really suit me,
Yeah, I
right?
think that's
And then when you start
definitely
saying no,
and then
things
nothing
don't
comes.
come back. Yeah, you
Yeah,
understand what I mean?
this is
So
why it gets
sometimes it's
really
like,
fun. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
is
It's
that
like,
weird battle? Can I say no? Can I really
mm,
not say no?
I do that.
And sometimes don't, yeah,
I think,
but you still then say yes, huh?
I think what I've started doing actually in the last year only, um, is being a little bit more picky in what I will take because I know
Okay.
as well sometimes I'll put so much time and effort into something and then it's not worth it in the end, or it's taking too
Mm-hmm.
much out of me, or maybe the client that I'm working for just isn't like good to work
It's
with,
not the
So
best.
I
Yeah.
think then prioritizing, I'm putting my mental health above getting paid for this one. I'm not gonna be doing that again. So that has been great. For the majority, like if I'm fully like, I cannot fit this in, I will try to see what I can do. But yeah, I think now being able to pick and choose a little bit, but I'm also really, really aware of what you said because I'm like, if I say no to stuff, I don't want to get like into next month and be like, oh my God, I've got nothing. And actually maybe things finished a bit
Yeah.
early. Could have done it, or so it's a bit of a juggling thing. Um, but yeah, I think it really depends on the type, like not the type of person, but it depends on you and who you are and what you can
Yeah.
do. Like you said, making sure you have a good routine. Like, I try now to go sleep at a certain time. I try and wake up and make sure I stretch or do some yoga or something because I'm sat at my desk all day. Or I make sure to
Mm-hmm.
try, now with the sun being out, try and go outside, for a walk, or just do those really, really basic things, like the most basic things, just so actually it's like a really pleasant like experience. And it is, the thing is, I absolutely like love my job. I love
Mm-hmm.
freelancing. I love working on these projects. I love that everything is different.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you're gonna get. But in order to make sure that I continue to enjoy it and I don't, you know, um mess up my mental health, or I don't mess up like my,
Yeah.
like just hunched over all the time, like my physical health and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm like, I actually have to start putting in work on that side as well. Because as much as you're enjoying
Yeah.
it, you want to make sure you can keep it going, you know?
Yeah, because to enjoy it, you need to have space to enjoy it. Like
Mm,
that's something that I always tell to people. It's like sometime, I enjoy every project. I enjoy when the big money come in and everything, but then it always feel like there's no time to actually enjoy
enjoy it.
the
Yeah.
hard work that you just gave out. Because as soon as you finish that,
You start the
you are
next.
thinking what else, what else.
Yeah.
But I have to give big ups to you because you're doing the market as well, and that is something that I've always looked into, or even workshop. Sorry for everybody at home that doesn't know, you do also workshop. Please shout out your studio, the workshop that you do, because I want people to know.
Yeah, me and my partner, we run a studio called Mush Studio. So my partner's name is Manny, my name's Kush, so we made it Mush.
Okay,
Very, very
mush.
complicated. But we run workshops basically, and they really vary. So they depend on like I guess what's going on. So we've run them at B&A when they had the Great Mughal
Hmm.
exhibition. So we were invited to run workshops there, and they were so busy. Like they were great. We had such a good time. And Dishoom Loves Market, we both ran workshops there. We tend to do
Hmm.
stuff with museums and things, so we try and link it to I guess like the exhibitions that are on. But hopefully this year we're going to be hosting our first solo workshop. We don't know what it is yet. We don't know what the
Okay,
theme's going to be yet. But hopefully in summer we're thinking to keep, to keep it like really nice and yeah, just joyful and sunny. So I will definitely be
very
posting
nice.
more about it when we know what it is. But yeah,
Hmm.
I think it'll be quite exciting because we've never done a solo one where we've been inviting people to come to us. It's more been like, hey, we're hosting this at an event, we're hosting this at a
Hmm.
museum. So it should be really exciting. But yeah,
No,
I'm
no, it's good. It's good. It looks promising. Your energy is good. So like I believe in that. When the energy is good, people are just people will show up for you. You see.
well,
So don't worry, and I think it will be great.
I think it's just about as well creating a space for people to relax and experiment because we used to do that when we were
Yeah,
kids when you think about it. And obviously us being creatives like and being in creative jobs now, we do that,
yeah,
most days. Whereas I think
yeah.
people that don't have that but were creative maybe when they were younger, you don't have a space to experiment. You don't have that
I
space.
love what you said about being a kid because I think like I think I'm the biggest kid ever, and it's funny, but because they say like the best life you can live is living your life through the eyes of a kid in
Yeah,
reality,
yeah.
because you're playing, you are pure, you're honest, and you're just exploring the world with no boundary, no limits. So it's actually a beautiful thing if you think about it. So it's great that you're creating that space. So please. Check out Mush Studio. Do you have an Instagram, a separate
Yeah,
Instagram page
yeah.
for Mush Studio?
It's
Please
We Are
shout it out as well.
It's We Are Mush Studio. But if you can't find that,
Hmm.
just go to my page, which is Kushiania, and I have like a link
Hmm.
to it there as well. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely going to be posting about that more soon.
Okay. And because we are almost at the end, I will give you one last question. Is okay, I will give you a weird one. If you can, if there's something that you want to create for the
Mm.
future, or what would you like to do next?
Oh my
After, I
God.
mean, I think in your career, like for sure, the way you're moving, I think you will reach your goals, collaborating with great clients. I see people like John Walker's and all the book publishing and everything. So you're doing great stuff. But what do you see for your future in terms of an artist? Where do you like to see yourself, if I can ask?
That's such a huge question.
The hammer question.
Yeah, it's hard because it's almost like trying to define what success looks like to you, I guess, and like what does
Oh,
successfulness mean to you as an artist.
mhm.
Um,
I
and
wouldn't even put it on the success. You know why? Because I feel like
do.
success evolve every year.
Mm,
So when you accomplish one of your goals, I think success are goals that you set to yourself. So once you get that, you want something else. Like for me now, I'm more focused on creating a community to give voices to amazing
mm,
artists that sometimes maybe not in your case, but there are some very how do you call it, unrepresented
yeah,
cultures within
yeah.
design, and I would like to actually make an imprint where I can elevate people to be more connected, to get the ability to network more, because I've done everything that I wanted in my life. I kind of achieve. So I'm looking what's next. What can I actually do? And when I look at the community, it gives me like a purpose rather than just a great, amazing illustration, something like, I don't know.
Like moving, yeah, like moving past that. Gosh, let me think. I think,
You can have more than one if you want, don't
yeah,
worry.
like where would I like to be? Where would I, you know what? It just goes to show how I have not reflected this year yet, like on what my what my goals are.
No,
Because
don't worry.
I'm so busy, in a really good way. I guess I
Or,
would.
or maybe let me make it simple. Like, if there's something you wanted to achieve this year, or like, was something that maybe is a dream in your desk drawer that you always wanted to do, but you still haven't find the time. to do because you don't have enough time.
To be fair, it is doing, like, having the time and space to do more personal work. Like, I know that sounds
Okay.
quite small, but, like, I think
It's
because
not.
I have, like, a page in my planner, and whenever I have an idea, I'm putting it in there just so I don't
Mhm.
forget it, you know? And I'm like, when I have
Okay.
time, this is what I want to go back to and be able to create, or this is what I wanna go back to and be able to actually, create. And I think,
Mhm.
looking at the list that gets longer and longer and knowing that, okay, I need to actually dedicate a little bit of time to just focusing on my growth as well as,
Mhm.
not just at client work, because I love doing the projects I do, but you're right, like, you're kind of evolving, with your clients, whereas I want to be able
Mhm.
to evolve my artwork. Um
Yeah.
'Cause I had a little while ago, it was like I think it was like a gallery show, and they were like, "Oh, can you send us some, like, some of your recent work that we can maybe showcase?" And I was
Yeah.
looking, and I was like, all my recent work has been for clients, and I was like, "I'm so
Yeah.
proud of this work, but obviously I can't showcase it." And the stuff of mine
Exactly.
is from
Mm.
years ago, and I'm like, "Wow, actually, that was quite eye-opening," because I was like, my style has, like, grown since then, but I
Yeah.
have nothing of mine to show for it. So I think
Mhm.
it's a small goal, but it would be just, I guess, directing that time. Because, like, eventually, I would love to be able to have, like, an exhibition, or I would love to be able to create a book,
Yeah, you see?
of my
That's
art.
that
Like, that would
that
be amazing, but I know
you
I'm not
just said it. You
I'm not
just
there
said
yet.
it.
Like,
The exhibition, it's funny because I mean, I saw your market stall. So just by saying that, I was blown away. But I can truly imagine to go to a gallery and see maybe your work on a big, massive scale.
yeah,
It will definitely, and okay, I don't even want to go there, but I think like just by seeing your work and the colors and how many details you have is definitely something I see for you in the future because your work deserves to see being seen on a very big scale. And I think having a gallery like a solo exhibition for yourself could be actually a very cool way to actually bring your focus on your personal work and maybe add more to your collection.
yeah,
But
that's
still.
really nice. That's really nice of you to say. I mean, here's hoping, like, here is definitely hoping. I just need to
Mhm.
get myself kind of, in that headspace to get on with it, you know?
Yeah, but no worries. Like I call these phases in life. As a designer, these are phases in life. Like I started with my personal work, and then I started doing a lot of client work. And sometimes when it's so busy because you're the hottest thing at the moment, it happens. And then it will go quiet again. So
Yeah.
till you can, just do it. You're not doing nothing wrong, and I think like. Yeah, there's no prioritizing what comes first, because at the end you're still doing art, but just the only thing I would say, never stop too long on doing personal stuff,
Mhm.
just because, as I said, you can get stuck sometimes, and I think you'll be fine with it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I feel inspired, so
Yeah, yeah. Kush, I really, really, really happy that you could join me on this episode. Was truly a blessing. And for people at home, please, I will put her handle out, some work of her. Please follow everything that she do, and please write me in the comment if you love her work, because I do, and trust me, it's amazing. So, Kush, I really appreciate that.
thank
And
you.
for everyone watching, have a good day. Bye.